Silence has been framed as weakness for most of your life. From the moment you were young, you were taught, subtly and repeatedly, that silence means submission. That if you don't speak up, you'll be ignored. That if you don't explain yourself, you'll be misunderstood. That if you don't respond immediately, you'll lose status, opportunity, or control. You were trained to fill every gap, to answer quickly, to clarify instantly, to defend reflexively. And every time you did, you were told you were being mature, respectful, cooperative, emotionally intelligent. That story is false. Silence has never belonged to the weak. It has always belonged to the powerful. The problem is that modern society inverted the meaning of silence because silence threatens systems built on control. A man who speaks less is harder to predict. A man who does not rush to respond cannot be easily steered. A man who can sit in silence without discomfort cannot be pressured. So silence had to be reframed as awkward, as rude, as socially unsafe. But power does not operate on social comfort. It operates on psychological leverage, and silence is leverage in its purest form. Think about the last time you were in a tense interaction, a disagreement, a negotiation, a subtle power struggle. What happened the moment silence appeared? Your body reacted before your mind did. Your chest tightened. Your thoughts accelerated. Your nervous system interpreted the silence as danger. So, you spoke. You filled the space. You softened your stance. You explained something that didn't need explanation. And the moment you did, the balance shifted. Not because your words were wrong, but because you broke first. Silence creates pressure. Whoever relieves that pressure loses position. This is the first principle you must understand. Silence is not the absence of communication. Silence is communication without vulnerability. When you speak, you expose intention. When you speak, you reveal emotion. When you speak, you show where you stand. Silence does the opposite. Silence forces the other person to stand alone with their thoughts. And human beings are deeply uncomfortable being alone with uncertainty. This discomfort is not intellectual, it is biological. The human nervous system evolved to scan for feedback, for reassurance, for response. When feedback disappears, the brain panics. It starts asking questions. Did I say something wrong? Is he judging me? Does he know something I don't? Am I losing control of this interaction? That internal questioning weakens posture, tone, and confidence. This is why silence feels heavy in a room, not because nothing is happening, but because everything is happening internally. Most men cannot tolerate this weight. They interpret silence as a threat to connection, so they rush to restore equilibrium. They talk, they explain, they justify, they leak power, and they don't even realize. Silence is powerful because it reverses the burden of effort. Normally, you are doing the work, managing emotions, maintaining flow, keeping things comfortable. Silence shifts that labor onto the other person. They must now interpret, guess, adjust, reposition. Whoever is working harder psychologically is lower in the hierarchy. This is why in every hierarchy that has ever existed, those at the top speak last, or not at all. Kings did not rush to answer. Judges did not explain themselves. Generals did not narrate their thinking. They issued decisions. They observed reactions. and silence did the rest. Niccolò Machiavelli understood this with ruthless clarity. He watched rulers lose power not because they were cruel, but because they were reactive, because they spoke too much, because they tried to appear fair instead of appearing immovable. A ruler who explains invites debate. A ruler who debates invites resistance. But a ruler who allows silence to hang creates inevitability. Silence signals this message at a subconscious level. I am not seeking your approval. I am not afraid of your judgment. I am comfortable letting you sit with uncertainty. And uncertainty destabilizes weaker minds. This is why silence feels threatening to people who rely on emotional leverage. They cannot read you. They cannot hook into you. They cannot steer the interaction. So they begin to compensate. They talk more. They reveal more. They overcorrect. And slowly, without confrontation, the axis of control shifts. Here is where most men misunderstand silence. They think silence is about withdrawal. It isn't. Silence is about containment. You are fully present, fully aware, fully engaged. But nothing leaves you unless it serves your position. This is why silence feels cold to emotional people. Because emotional people depend on reaction. They exchange feelings like currency. When you refuse the exchange, they feel robbed. But power has never belonged to those who trade freely. It belongs to those who control supply. Silence is scarcity, and scarcity creates value. When you speak constantly, your words depreciate. When you react instantly, your emotions become predictable. When you explain reflexively, your authority erodes. Silence reverses all of that. It increases perceived value. It restores unpredictability. It reclaims frame control. Frame control is the invisible battlefield in every interaction. Who sets the tone? Who defines what matters? Who decides when things move forward? Silence allows you to hold the frame without defending it. And that is terrifying to people who depend on dominance through pressure. This is why silence often provokes aggression. People who feel power slipping will try to reclaim it. They'll ask pointed questions. They'll accuse. They'll provoke. And the men who don't understand silence fall for it. They react. They explain. They argue. They step into the trap. Silence avoids the trap entirely. It says, I am not entering your frame. You can exhaust yourself if you want. I will move when it suits me. And when you finally speak, if you choose to, your words carry disproportionate weight, because they are no longer noise, they are decision. This is the foundational truth. Silence doesn't remove you from the interaction. It places you above it. In the next part, you'll see why silence creates psychological pressure that most people cannot withstand, and how that pressure forces them to reveal their weaknesses without you saying a single word. Why silence creates psychological pressure people can't handle. Silence is not neutral to the human mind. It is interpreted as a threat long before it is processed as information. When words disappear, the brain does not relax, it accelerates. This is because the human nervous system is built for prediction. From an evolutionary standpoint, predictability meant safety. If you could read the tribe, anticipate reactions, and forecast outcomes, you survived. If you couldn't, you were exposed. Silence removes predictability, and the brain hates that. When you stay silent in a moment where a response is expected, you create what psychologists call a cognitive gap. The other person expects input. When it doesn't arrive, their mind scrambles to fill the void. They begin running simulations internally. What is he thinking? Did I cross a line? Is he angry? Is he judging me? Did I lose ground here? Notice something important. None of these questions are about you. They are about their position. Silence turns the interaction inward. Instead of observing you, they are now observing themselves. And self-observation under uncertainty is destabilizing. Most men are not trained to sit with that discomfort. They've been conditioned to resolve tension immediately, either by smoothing it over, escalating emotionally, or seeking reassurance. Silence denies all three options. That's why silence feels intense, even when nothing is happening. Psychologically, something is happening. The pressure is being redistributed. Normally, when tension arises, both parties share the load. You react, they react. The exchange diffuses energy back and forth. Silence interrupts this circuit. You stop carrying your half. All the tension stays on their side. And tension without release seeks escape. This is where people begin to crack. Some talk more. Some explain unnecessarily. Some grow defensive. Some become aggressive. All of these are leaks. They are attempts to regain control. Silence forces people to reveal how they handle loss of control. This is why interrogators, negotiators, and high-level strategists use silence deliberately. Not because silence magically convinces anyone, but because it exposes internal structure. A confident person will tolerate silence longer. An insecure person will rush to end it. A manipulative person will try to provoke a reaction. And a weak person will over-explain. Silence does not create weakness. It reveals it. This is the key distinction most men miss. They think silence is passive. In reality, silence is diagnostic. It scans the other person's nervous system, and whatever comes out next tells you everything you need to know. This is why silence feels so powerful in negotiations. When someone makes an offer and you respond instantly, you signal eagerness. You communicate that the pressure is on you. When you pause, you shift the pressure back onto them. They begin doubting their own position. Did I offer too much? Is he unimpressed? Should I adjust? Often, they start negotiating against themselves. Not because you said anything, but because silence made them uncomfortable. This is also why silence works in confrontation. When someone insults you and you react emotionally, you confirm their ability to move you. When you argue, you validate their frame. When you defend, you lower your status. But when you look at them calmly and say nothing, you deny them feedback. They don't know if they succeeded. And uncertainty is unbearable to people who rely on dominance through reaction. They escalate. They insult harder. They speak louder. They expose desperation. And every escalation makes them look weaker. Silence creates an asymmetry. You are observing. They are performing. You are stable. They are reactive. And human beings instinctively defer to stability. This is why silence feels authoritative. Not because silence is loud, but because silence implies self-sufficiency. It says, I don't need to fill this space. I don't need to correct you. I don't need to prove myself. Those are high-status signals. Status is not declared, it is inferred. And silence gives the other person just enough space to infer your superiority on their own. Here's the paradox. The less you say, the more weight your presence carries. The less you react, the more control you appear to have. The less you explain, the more certain you seem. This is why silence is terrifying to people who depend on emotional leverage. They can't hook into you. They can't steer you. They can't read you. And what cannot be read cannot be controlled. In the next part, you'll learn why most men fail to use silence effectively, even when they try, and how emotional suppression actually betrays them faster than open reaction. Why most men fail at silence. Most men fail at silence because they misunderstand it. They believe silence means holding back words. But real silence is internal control. When an average man tries to stay silent, he is still reacting inside. His jaw tightens, his eyes dart, his posture stiffens. He is silent, but exposed. This is not silence. This is suppressed panic, and suppression leaks. People don't need to hear words to read weakness. They see it in micro-movements, breath changes, restless energy. True silence comes from emotional separation. Unreadable men are not restraining emotion, they are observing it. Anger arises, they notice it. Fear appears, they acknowledge it. But nothing escapes, because emotion is no longer identity. It is data. This is why their stillness feels heavy, why their presence slows the room, why people hesitate around them. They are not fighting themselves internally, and when there is no internal conflict, there is nothing to leak. Silence without internal order is fragile. Silence with internal order is dominance. In the next part, you'll learn how words themselves betray most men, and why speaking less is not enough if you don't change how you speak. How words leak power. Most men don't lose power by what they say. They lose it by how much they say. They explain intentions no one asked about. They clarify decisions that didn't need clarification. They narrate their thinking out loud. Every extra sentence is a leak. Words are not neutral. Words expose position. When you over-explain, you signal uncertainty. When you justify, you signal defensiveness. When you rush to be understood, you signal need. Silence removes all three. Unreadable men speak surgically. Short statements. No emotional cushioning. No verbal self-defense. They don't argue perceptions. They don't chase agreement. They don't correct every misunderstanding. Because misunderstanding is not a threat. Exposure is. Silence forces others to interpret. Interpretation forces projection. Projection reveals more about them than speech ever could. This is why silence shifts power instantly. The moment you stop explaining, the burden moves off you. The other person must fill the gap. And people reveal themselves when filling gaps. In the next part, you'll see how body language destroys silence if it isn't trained, and how stillness becomes authority. Why the body decides power before words. Silence fails when the body betrays you. Most men try to stay quiet, but their body speaks loudly. Restless hands, shifting weight, tense shoulders, rapid movements. These are signals of internal urgency, and urgency is weakness. Human beings read bodies faster than language. Before someone hears your words, their nervous system has already decided whether you are calm or threatened. Unreadable men train stillness. They move slowly. They sit without adjustment. They hold eye contact without force. Stillness communicates surplus. The man who moves least controls tempo. The man who controls tempo controls perception. Fast movement says, "I need to act." Slow movement says, "I have time." And time is power. This is why silence must be physical as well as verbal. A quiet mouth with a restless body still leaks. True dominance is when nothing is trying to escape you. In the next part, you'll understand why availability destroys silence and why distance sharpens authority. Why availability destroys power. Silence collapses the moment you are too available. Most men think accessibility builds trust. In reality, it builds familiarity, and familiarity erodes authority. When you are always reachable, people study you. They learn your response time. They map your moods. They predict your reactions. Predictability kills power. Unreadable men are not emotionally distant. They are structurally unavailable. They don't respond instantly. They don't always explain delays. They don't orbit other people's urgency. This creates psychological imbalance. The person who waits feels lower. The person who does not rush feels higher. Silence is not just what you say, it is when you appear. Distance forces others to imagine. Imagination creates uncertainty. Uncertainty creates caution. And caution is respect. This is why powerful men do not chase closure. They do not resolve every tension. They allow gaps to exist. Those gaps do the work for them. Because the mind hates unfinished loops. It spins, it speculates, it assigns weight. Availability removes mystery. Mystery creates gravity. When you stop making yourself constantly accessible, silence becomes permanent, not situational. And permanent silence rewires how people treat you. In the next part, you'll see why silence makes people uncomfortable and why their discomfort is evidence that power has shifted. Why availability destroys power. Silence collapses the moment you are too available. Most men think accessibility builds trust. In reality, it builds familiarity. And familiarity erodes authority. When you are always reachable, people study you. They learn your response time. They map your moods. They predict your reactions. Predictability kills power. Unreadable men are not emotionally distant. They are structurally unavailable. They don't respond instantly. They don't always explain delays. They don't orbit other people's urgency. This creates psychological imbalance. The person who waits feels lower. The person who does not rush feels higher. Silence is not just what you say, it is when you appear. Distance forces others to imagine. Imagination creates uncertainty. Uncertainty creates caution. And caution is respect. This is why powerful men do not chase closure. They do not resolve every tension. They allow gaps to exist. Those gaps do the work for them. Because the mind hates unfinished loops. It spins, it speculates, it assigns weight. Availability removes mystery. Mystery creates gravity. When you stop making yourself constantly accessible, silence becomes permanent, not situational. And permanent silence rewires how people treat you. In the next part, you'll see why silence makes people uncomfortable and why their discomfort is evidence that power has shifted. Silence without isolation. Silence does not mean withdrawal. This is where most men make a mistake. They confuse unreadability with coldness. They disappear completely. They cut everyone off. That is not power. That is avoidance. Unreadable men are selectively transparent. They choose who gets access. They decide what is revealed. They control timing. Allies don't need your emotions. They need consistency. Enemies need your reactions. You deny them. You can be present without being exposed, engaged without being readable, connected without being controllable. This is why silence must be paired with reliability. You show up when you say you will. You act decisively. You don't explain yourself emotionally. Over time, people stop asking why. They start adjusting how they interact with you. Because they've learned something. You are not moved by pressure. You are not shaped by expectation. And once people learn that, they stop trying to pull you. In the next part, you'll see how modern culture trains men to abandon silence and why resisting that training is real power. Why modern culture destroys silence. Modern culture trains men to be readable. Oversharing is praised. Emotional display is rewarded. Privacy is treated as suspicion. You are told that if you don't explain yourself, you are unhealthy. If you don't react publicly, you are weak. If you don't reveal your feelings, you are hiding something. This conditioning serves systems, not individuals. A readable man is predictable. A predictable man is manageable. When your emotions are public, they can be manipulated. When your reactions are visible, they can be exploited. When your intentions are announced, they can be blocked. Silence disrupts this. Silence removes data. Silence removes patterns. Silence removes leverage. That is why it is discouraged. Unreadable men do not reject connection. They reject exposure. They understand that not everything felt must be shown. Not everything known must be shared. Not every thought must be voiced. Privacy is not weakness. It is strategic containment. In the final part, you'll understand the true cost of silence and why so few men are willing to pay it. The cost of silence and why few men pay it. Silence has a price. When you stop explaining, people will misunderstand you. When you stop reacting, they will project onto you. When you stop performing, they will judge you. This is unavoidable. Silence removes comfort, theirs and yours. You will no longer be rescued by approval. You will no longer be softened by sympathy. You will no longer be carried by consensus. But in exchange, something permanent happens. People stop trying to move you. They stop pushing boundaries casually. They stop provoking for reaction. They stop assuming access to your inner world. Because they have learned a simple truth. Nothing controls what cannot be read. Silence is not emptiness. It is containment. It is the refusal to leak energy, intent, or emotion on demand. And once you embody it, power shifts quietly, without force, without conflict, without explanation. You are no longer reacting to the world. The world is reacting to you, and that is real authority.